Well, another bold and vicious crime, apparently fueled by racism, has led to an intense investigation tonight in Queens. Police say 3 black men were savagely beaten by a gang of white attackers at Howard Beach. One of the victims, a 23-year-old construction worker, was chased to his death. McGee Hickey reports on what happened, including angry reaction from Mayor Koch.
This incident can only be described as rivaling the kind of lynching party that existed in the Deep South.
Just before midnight last night, a car leaving the Rockaways with 4 young black men inside broke down just outside the Marine Gateway Toll Plaza. The driver waited inside his car while the 3 passengers went for help. They walked more than 4 miles north on Cross Bay Boulevard, stopping at this Howard Beach pizzeria for a telephone call and a bite. That's when, according to police, 3 carloads of whites arrived, all wielding baseball bats and clubs.
They use racial epithets. What are you doing in this neighborhood? And words to that effect.
Police say 2 of the 3 black men were chased by the gang of whites to 156th Avenue in the Belt Parkway, where police say a second beating took place. When the 2 black men were finally able to break away, one of them started heading east along the Belt Parkway, the other west. The man who headed east, 23-year-old Michael Griffith of Brooklyn, crossed the belt and was struck and killed. Police say the driver who hit Griffith stopped, didn't see anything, and then went home, where his father, a police officer, told him to go back to the scene. Police do not believe the driver was involved in the beatings. Both Mayor Koch and the police commissioner are calling the racial attack the #1 law enforcement case in the city.
You just have to think of what these 3 people who were in the pizza parlor had to be going through when they went outside, and they're the subject of assaults and racial epithets, and they have to race away and run for their lives.
In Howard Beach, a predominantly middle-class Italian pocket of Queens, there have been 2 other unsolved racial attacks in the past year, but many residents said they don't know of any tension.
Not really. This is really a pretty quiet area.
But a black security officer who works for a neighborhood crime patrol sees a different side of Howard Beach.
The tension is there in the air. Personally, I feel like a white guy in Harlem. It's more or less like that type of chemistry out here.
At the victim's Bedford-Stuyvesant home, Michael Griffith's mother was grieving privately with relatives, but her oldest son said the Trinidad native still can't believe her son died because of bigotry in America.
She still don't believe this is happening, especially here in New York, or especially in America itself, because the question she said to me in the hospital is that she don't believe that these things happen.
Police are offering a $10,000 reward for information leading to the arrest of the gang of whites. McGee Hickey, News 4, Queens.
And a special task force of 50 investigators has been assigned to the case, but late tonight, the 106th precinct said it had no breaks to report, no suspects in custody.
Arrests were made today in the New York City version of a racial lynching, a mob of whites attacking 3 black men. Bob Fall has our report.
In sorrow and anger, dozens of blacks massed in the white middle-class neighborhood of Howard Beach to mourn the death of Michael Griffith, a 23-year-old construction worker. He and 2 friends, marooned in this area late Friday night when their car broke down, were chased by about 10 white youths wielding bats and sticks. Trying to escape on this expressway, Griffith was hit by a car and killed.
Statements were made that niggers, you're in the wrong neighborhood, you don't belong in this neighborhood, get out of here. My own feelings about this is that it's nothing less than a lynching.
Police, who blanketed Howard Beach this weekend, today announced the arrest of 4 area residents, ages 16 and 17, in what New York's mayor calls the worst murder in the modern era of this city.
To have it happen in New York City, unbelievable that it could happen.
But the fact is, it did happen here, just as racial harassment has been reported this year in South Philadelphia, on Cleveland's east side, on the west side of Chicago. It is shocking but should not be surprising, says the prize-winning author of A Chronicle of Racism in Boston.
We still are going to have to grapple for many years to come with communities which wish to exclude the other.
In Howard Beach, residents bristle when accused of lawlessness, but concede there is an invisible boundary line here which blacks should not cross.
some of the white people in this neighborhood, the first thing they think when they see blacks is that they don't want them in this neighborhood and for this neighborhood to start filling up with colored people.
It is that attitude which outraged blacks today condemned and vowed to challenge.
We're here because it is our God-given right to be here. And not 1 killing, 2 killings, 3 killings, or 100 killings are going to stop us from going where we want to go.
Police say more charges are likely in the incident, which not only illustrates hatred here, but which also serves as a reminder that America still has boundaries which can be crossed only at peril. Bob Fall, CBS News, New York.
In New York tonight, 4 white teens are under arrest in an attack on 3 black men likened to a lynching. It happened over the weekend. The blacks were beaten with baseball bats and chased away when their car stalled at a predominantly white neighborhood of Queens. It ended with the death of one of the victims, who was chased into the path of an oncoming car.
Statements were made that niggers, you're in the wrong neighborhood, you don't belong in this neighborhood, get out of here. My own feelings about this is that it's nothing less than a lynching.
Next tonight, the story of a racial incident in New York that has grown into something of a national issue. 10 days ago, a 23-year-old black construction worker named Michael Griffiths was run over by a car and killed. He reportedly died trying to escape from a gang of white youths who were beating him and 2 friends. New York Mayor Ed Koch quickly called it a racial lynching. The story hit the national headlines and television networks, prompting a fresh debate about the extent of racism in America. We join that debate in a moment, but first we sample the attitudes in the Howard Beach section of Queens where the incident took place. Our camera was there over the weekend when civil rights leaders led a march through the community.
If everyone's such a good investigative reporters, why don't they investigate the fact that other blacks, Puerto Ricans have come into this neighborhood, have robbed, raped, and attacked white people in this neighborhood?
You tell them.
What those boys did was wrong. Nobody's saying what they did is right, but we do not have to be put through this. People, black people, any denomination has come to this neighborhood. We have treated them well. They shop with us, everything. How could you do this? This is ridiculous. All the robberies, nobody mentions that. Nobody mentions the rapes. A month ago, girls raped over there by the hospital. Give me a break, for Christ's sake.
And if in 30 years you have 1 incident, I don't think that's a bad record.
People get along here?
Fine, wonderful.
As far as we're concerned, we've never had any problems.
See, you feel that way because you're middle class and you don't have to be bothered with that. But there are whites in the area, the youngsters, who feel that blacks should not even be here, should not even walk on the streets, and should not even eat here.
I have never heard it.
Yeah, it's not my imagination. It happens to be.
30 years.
It happens to be a fact.
You are the only one who's
but
ever
it happens
voiced that.
to be because you probably live in your ivory tower.
Oh, come on,
and you know you live in your ivory tower, and you're not out here on the street. I'm not a troublemaker.
Absolutely.
You go home. This is my home. This is my home. I was born here. This is my home as well as yours.
Have you had any problems? Have you had any problems before this?
Of course.
You guys want to start trouble.
There's no news.
This happens in every neighborhood across America, not just here in Howard Beach. This is something you want to play up. It's Christmas, makes headlines, news stories. Have a ball. You guys are just adding fuel to the fire.
A friend of mine that lives on the other side of Howard Beach, he was shot in his stomach. There was no cops, there was no publicity, there was no Mayor Koch with a $10,000 reward. Where was everybody? There was no guardian angels.
Hey, buddy.
It's only when the whites do it to the blacks.
The only way I see it resolve this whole situation is that you bringing up your kids. You bringing up your kids. Bring them up, and don't bring them up talking about a nigga's no good, a nigga's like this, a nigga's like that's not right, man. Because that's what starts right in the house.
All you're doing is creating a big monster. That's all you're doing. You're going to have a big demonstration here today. They're going to march. They're going to do everything here today. Tomorrow you'll have a gang war here. That's what you want.
How do you feel about this whole thing?
I feel about this? I feel this shouldn't be what it is today. People are creating a lot of havoc here and a lot of racial tensions in this neighborhood.
Okay, but there is a reason, right?
No, I don't think there is a reason for it. The reason is, that I believe, is these kids came looking for trouble and they found their trouble. If you come in my house and you want to step on me, well, then I'm going to have to step back on you. They're in our house here. You understand? We don't go in their neighborhood and do this, and we don't protest against them. And what about that kid got beat up in Jamaica by 40 blacks? You go over there, and what'd you say to them? Did you single out anyone over there?
Well, the media gave that coverage. Do you think this is a black-white issue here?
I think this is a political issue. That's what it is. We white people here, we live in this neighborhood quietly, and many blacks walk through here and nothing happens to them. Now, if you want to come in here, if you're black or white, and if you want to start trouble, you're going to find trouble. Anywhere you go in this world, you're going to find it.
Thank you.
So we're here under these circumstances, but I do feel it's discrimination against the whites.
All right, hold it. Let me...
Ask me questions, go right ahead. I'm ready for them.
All right, how do you feel about this, Cheryl?
How do I feel about it? I think it's a big outrage, and it shouldn't be just in Howard Beach. It's all over New York, and it's all over the nation as far as I'm concerned, okay? Not only that, we have discrimination here because they're on one side, we're on the other, and they're only here because it was a black person that beat up on a white, and we did not murder them. Nobody forced them through that fence. We did not go and put them in front of that car, okay?
But you
now
weren't
it's
there,
outrage.
were you?
No, I wasn't there, but I can hear from what you, the commentators, are telling us, the media, okay? Now, what I say is, I say that everybody should have either equal rights, and I'm not only just talking as far as this, I'm talking about as far as civil service, jobs, welfare, food stamps. My brother's paralyzed, can't get food stamps. Why? I want to know why he can't get it. Not only myself, no, for everybody, okay? When you say equal rights, you say equal rights for black and white, okay? They have a Negro fund college. We don't have a white fund college, and we can't get a grant because we are not white. We are not black.
Can you understand their point of view marching here today?
Can I understand it?
No.
They're making a big outrage,
trying to make
okay?
names. The big politicians trying to make a name
Nobody's going to get on
themselves.
one at a time. I don't want to answer the question.
I think they're making a bigger outrage than it is. Their point, I think the point they're bringing across is so that they can march through our neighborhood anytime and feel free, which is fine because nobody bothers them. But when they come in and they rob our house, as mine has been robbed 3 times a year, and it's been by blacks because my neighbors see them running out of the house, okay? I've been on the subways, I've been robbed and mugged, my mother has been robbed and mugged. I'd say if you have a good education and you're not sleazy, fine. You can come and talk to me anytime you want. But when you're on drugs and you're selling crack, and if I have a little brother or sister and I see them getting crack sold by any little black guy, I'll tell you now, I'll go after him with my own 2 hands, and I mean that with all sincerity. And thank you for the interview. Good luck.
Hey!
One more thing.
What happened?
Go ahead.
One at a time.
Okay.
Go ahead.
We're talking about equal rights. I believe in it 100%, but I believe in it all the way. Now, we talk about equal rights. We have a civil service that has
we can't get into that
but
now.
wait
Yeah,
a minute,
talk
we're
about
talking
the
about
march
equal
here.
rights. But the point, how I feel.
Right. How do you feel about this march?
It came about, it just didn't come like this. It happened with everything. It started with, you talk about hate. No one hates. But the politicians are bringing this about when they force, when our sons take civil service test and worked hard for that test, and his name is passed by because they have to pick someone that's black, white, or Hispanic, not Chinese. I don't see one Chinese cop out here, one Polish or this or that. I don't see that. So that has to be done away with. That hurts us. That gets us all upset.
So you say there's resentment in the white community against the blacks?
It's resentment in everything when you have to separate them like that. Our kids are studying hard for that job, and then that job is given to someone else.
Well, what about
How do you
this
think he
march
feels?
today? How does this march make you feel today?
I feel they should march on all the things, but not just on this. This is a farce when they pick only this out. But yet it's all right for them to take a white man's job. I don't see him saying, I won't take that, I won't accept it, knowing in my heart I stole it. And I'm being condoned for stealing that job by the mayor and everybody else. They're saying that's okay. How many cops out here has taken my son's job away from him when he studied hard?
Okay.
How do you think we feel?
I have one thing I want to ask.
An ABC News brief now from Washington, Karen Stone.
Judges dismissed murder charges against 3 white men who allegedly chased a black man to his death in Howard Beach, New York. 2 black victims had declined to testify. That's News Brief. More news later on this ABC station.
Good evening. Tonight there are new charges in a crime that shocked the city. Charges of murder, attempted murder, and manslaughter.
12 teenagers are under indictment tonight for their roles in the Howard Beach racial attack last December. Colleen Hunt has more on what a judge today called an American tragedy.
A month after Special State Prosecutor Charles Hines took over the Howard Beach case, a grand jury has handed up indictments against 12 teenagers. They're accused of taking part in the chase that sent Michael Griffith on a fatal run in front of a car and an attack on his 2 black companions. 3 second-degree murder charges have been handed up, 4 attempted murder, and 5 manslaughter charges. There are also many lesser charges, such as assault and rioting. 3 of the accused, John Lester, Scott Kern, and Jason Ladone, had previously been charged with reckless endangerment. 9 other teenagers were ordered to turn themselves into police this morning. Of the 3 teens originally charged in the case, Lester and Kern are now also charged with second-degree murder, attempted murder, manslaughter, and several lesser charges. Jason Ladone is charged with manslaughter and attempted murder. Another teen, previously unknown to the public, Robert Riley, today was also charged with murder, attempted murder, and other crimes. He is the youth that Special Prosecutor Charles Hines got to testify against the others. Even though Riley is charged with some of the most serious crimes, he was released with no bail in return for his cooperation. None of the other teens was released without bail, which ranged up to $50,000. Lester and Kern are being held without bail. Defense attorneys say they and their clients were amazed by the severity of the charges.
He was very upset. He's a 16-year-old young man. These are very, very serious charges. Second most serious in the whole penal law. Attempted murder. He expected far less. When he first was apprehended by the police advised him that at most he'd be facing no more than simple assault charges.
I am shocked at the indictment, and my client is also.
Defense attorneys pointed to the hardship this case has brought on the families of the accused. But Judge Alfred Lerner said it has brought more hardship on the victims. He called the death of Michael Griffith an American tragedy. Special Prosecutor Charles Hines says it's important to remember that this is an indictment of 12 individuals, not a community. In fact, he says it's so important to remember the difference between the 12 kids and Howard Beach as a whole that he hasn't even mentioned the words Howard Beach in this indictment.
This kind of thing could happen all over the world. Indeed, it does, and it has, where people distrust or hate other people because of an accident of birth.
The trials of the accused teenagers are set to begin in early March. In Queens, this is Colleen Hunt reporting.
Tonight, Channel 2 News has learned indictments in the Howard Beach racial attacks have been handed up by a Queens grand jury. A dozen teenagers now have been ordered to surrender to the authorities tomorrow morning, and some, we are told, could face murder charges. On the Night Beat, here's Channel 2's Mary Murphy.
In the beginning, only 3 Howard Beach teenagers were charged in the attack that left 1 black man dead, another man beaten. Now Channel 2 News has learned 9 others must surrender to Queens detectives tomorrow, including 1 teen who was free on bail.
Been told to bring Jason Ladone in, that he's been indicted. He'll be arraigned tomorrow at 2 o'clock in the Supreme Court.
Do you know what he will be charged with?
They will not tell us that.
One police investigator told us today he did not expect murder charges in the highway death of Michael Griffith, something that would surely anger black leaders who demanded a special prosecutor be assigned to the case. But one defense attorney is not so confident. His client, Scott Kearns, has been notified prosecutors want the teenager held without bail. That would suggest he's facing a very serious charge. The case has created a lot of racial division in the city, beginning with the first reports of the attack, the arrest of 3 white teens, a march through the streets of Howard Beach, followed by outrage when a judge threw out second-degree murder charges due to a lack of evidence. Queens DA John Santucci was forced to turn the case over to Special Prosecutor Charles Hines. Meantime, the family of Jason Ladone, one of the original 3 charged in the attack, has been besieged with threatening letters and phone calls.
We're gonna get you giddy bastards. Merry Christmas. Jason, I am going to kill you. Hello, I don't like what your voice is, my boy. Yeah.
Family here is a fine family, hard-working mother, hard-working father. This is totally uncalled for.
One controversial figure in this case who probably won't be indicted tomorrow is Court Officer Dominic Blum, the driver of the car that hit Michael Griffith. Blum has not even testified before a grand jury yet. Police did not believe he was guilty of any wrongdoing, but he does face possible charges for initially leaving the scene of the accident, even though he returned later on. In Queens, I'm Mary Murphy, Channel 2 News on the Night Beat.
This was the last day of testimony from the star prosecution witness in the Howard Beach racial trial. And when the questioning was finished, one defense attorney was calling him the best witness for the defense. Correspondent Mary Murphy has the story of a day of detail concerning the night of confrontation.
Robert Riley completed his mission for the prosecution ducking in a back door, while upstairs, his old friend, Michael Perrone, charged with manslaughter in the death of Michael Griffith, marked his 18th birthday on trial.
I wish I wasn't here. I wanted everything to be over with already.
Today, Perone's controversial defense attorney, Stephen Murphy, set out to blast Riley off the stand during cross-examination. Murphy accused Riley of making up stories about the attack after striking a deal for leniency with the prosecution. Murphy shouted, "Did you testify last week you left parts out?" Riley answered yes. Murphy boomed, "So you lied." That brought an objection from the prosecution. But Murphy continued, finally getting Riley to admit he saw two black men with knives during a confrontation outside the New Park Pizza Parlor before he noticed defendant Scott Kern with a bat. Murphy boomed, "What did you see first, the bat or the knives?" Riley answered, "I see knives."
The knives were out. The young white men weren't moving forward. They weren't doing anything. I believe that the jury will infer that they were afraid and they were just standing there. It's only when Riley takes the bat that he moves forward. Nobody else moves forward but Riley.
At the core of this case is just how far the white teens chased Michael Griffith. Did they literally force him onto this Belt Parkway exit ramp, chasing him across 3 lanes to his death? Or did Michael Griffith have options, as the defense claims, of where he could run? Riley completed his testimony this afternoon, telling the jury he agreed to cooperate to correct the wrong that took place that December night. He pleaded guilty to assault and could receive probation or 4 years in prison. Do you think the jury will be affected by the deal that Mr. Riley made?
The jury will consider the agreement that Mr. Riley made, and that will be that will certainly bear on his credibility. And that's
Hines may subpoena court officer Dominic Blum later this week, the driver of the car that hit Michael Griffith. Blum was cleared of wrongdoing, but the defense may portray him as the intervening factor in Griffith's death. I'm Mary Murphy, Channel 2 News.
He was the star witness for the prosecution in the Howard Beach trial. But a defense lawyer says the testimony's backfired. Robert Riley is cooperating with authorities in exchange for leniency. He was with the 4 defendants the night they allegedly chased a black man to his death. Well, today, defense attorney Stephen Murphy blasted Riley on the stand during cross-examination. Murphy drilled the witness about the initial confrontation that December night outside a pizza parlor. Riley admitted he saw 2 black men with knives before he noticed a defendant with a bat.
The young white men weren't moving forward. They weren't doing anything. I believe that the jury will infer that they were afraid and they were just standing there. It's only when Riley takes the bat that he moves forward. Nobody else moves forward but Riley.
Murphy says Riley has actually been the best witness for the defense.
In the case of a racial attack that has captured national attention. As Richard Roth reports, there is much more at stake here than simply the fate of the defendants.
We shall overcome. At the courthouse, a vigil began when the jury started deliberations. A prayer for justice, they called it, by which they mean a guilty verdict against 4 white teenagers charged in the death of a black man here 1 year ago. Michael Griffith was 23 when he was struck by a car and killed on a city parkway, chased there by a gang of white youths on what the prosecution called a night of fear and hatred in the neighborhood known as Howard Beach.
This was the worst murder that I believe has taken place in the modern era of this city.
A dozen neighborhood boys were arrested for killing Griffith and beating his 2 companions with bats and sticks. An American tragedy, the judge called the case, and when it went to trial, 2 of the youths were charged with murder, 2 others manslaughter. Witnesses testified the blacks were in Howard Beach that December night because their car broke down. They were set upon by whites, unprovoked. They had a right to walk the streets, said the prosecutor. You don't need a passport for Howard Beach. But defense lawyers called the victims unsavory types, men with criminal records spoiling for a fight, ending in a sad accident having nothing to do with race.
Yeah, the politicians needed a case. They needed racism. You know, when you yell racism, everybody supports you, and I support someone, but that's a phony issue.
Whatever the outcome, the prosecutor says no one here will be a winner. Not blacks seeking conviction, nor whites hoping acquittal will vindicate their community. The judge has simply told the jury to search for a verdict that speaks the truth. The trial of 4 white teenagers and the death of a black man has been seen as a gauge of race relations in New York City. Richard Schlesinger reports.
After 12 days of deliberation, the jury reached a split verdict. It convicted 3 teenage defendants of manslaughter and cleared a 4th of all charges.
I'm glad that the jury acquitted me, but I feel bad for my friends, and hopefully they'll be acquitted when their lawyers go to the appellate division, because there shouldn't have been 4 acquittals all over the place.
The trial grew out of last year's death of Michael Griffith, a 23-year-old black man who was hit by a car while running from a gang of white teenagers who beat and chased him. None of the defendants was convicted of murder, which angered black activists like Hilly Saunders.
As far as I'm concerned, is racist.
But at a news conference after the verdict, prosecutor Charles Hines defended the outcome and hoped it would send a message.
We can only pray for peace during this Christmas season and hope that the legal process will never have to be invoked again for this kind of tragedy.
The defendants argued what happened to Michael Griffith was just a tragic accident. By its verdict, the jury said it was not, but it was also not murder.
Defend your client to the fullest. That's what caused this verdict, which stands, frankly, is not going to stand in all due respect, because there was absolutely no homicide attributable to anybody on this trial, and the injuries to Sandiford were sparse at best. And clients are feeling great pain and shock, disappointment and horror, and frankly, they really aren't able to react other than to be stunned by what happened here. They didn't expect it. They did nothing wrong, and they're amazed that sometimes there are injustice. You know, that's the problem with decent families and decent people. That's why all of these kids made statements. You know, the kids that went and told the truth are going to jail. The guy that went home and came and lied is going to stay home. That's the irony here. The families that believed in the law found out the hard way that, hey, sometimes these people in law enforcement aren't really there for your benefit. Sometimes they're really there to make a case because they need a case to satisfy their bosses, and that's what happened here.
Mr. Rubenstein, you said or suggested that the defendants were convicted because they were white, and Mr. Levinson, you were unhappy about the, you said you were stymied that your peremptory challenges were taken away. You say they would not have been convicted if you had an all-white jury?
No, I'm saying if I had the right to pick a jury without being influenced by and having my peremptory challenges taken away. There were several black jurors that we might have taken under all respects. However, the fact is that we were told we had to support reasons for it. And once you start doing that, you start breaking our resources. Now our resources consist of 20 peremptory challenges, and I think that's a grounds for appeal.
Do you think race had anything to do with it?
With what?
With the jury that was selected that did ultimately decide.
Yeah, I think that the prosecutor. I'm sorry, Dave. I didn't count it because, but I would like to count up the number of times Mr. Hines said, and I turned out to be all about. Everybody picked the jury and said, racism has nothing to do with this case. We want to try it on the evidence and the facts, and then they tried it just the opposite. They tried it on racism. They wanted a racial verdict, and it was strictly based upon that prejudice, or that sense that there was prejudice here, and that was the cause of this incident, that I suggest to you good people that the verdict is. And I think the world will be very happy with this verdict, but you know, in history we learn that sometimes when great injustices happen, that they're reversed. You know, we saw it with the Vietnam War. Now we see people coming and they're being applauded as heroes. They're being understood for what they did. These young men are the scapegoats of a society that has neglected the minorities in this country, and this is their payback for those politicians who have done nothing. They sacrificed these 3 young boys to satisfy their own political needs and satisfy a country that maybe feels a little guilty.
All right, and we're going to break into this live video with Ron Rubenstein, who's explaining some of the reaction here. And here with me live on camera is Brian Levinson, who represents John Lester. And how is Mr. Lester feeling right now?
He's feeling a hell of a lot better than I am. I'm very disappointed. He's a terrific kid. He grabbed me and said, listen, Brian, you did terrific. I know you did wonderfully for me, and they just didn't understand. And I got convicted for something I didn't do. That's what he did, and he says, I know you'll take care of it on appeal, and I certainly will.
How soon do you expect to put the appeal process in action?
Well, that has to take place after sentence as a matter of law, so what we're going to do is when he's sentenced on this case on the 20th of January, then we will make arrangements to file a notice of appeal within a few days.
Now, John Lester was found guilty on what charges?
He was found guilty on the manslaughter, but not guilty on the attempted murder. Guilty on assault 1. I felt there was never the injury that amounted to assault 1 in this case. That was it. He was acquitted of the rioting charges. The basic thing of the 2C felonies, that's where it is. He was acquitted of riot, as a matter of fact.
How many years?
Acquitted of inciting to riot.
How many years does he face?
He faced a maximum penalty of 5 to 15 years.
Ariana, throughout the trial, Cedric Sandiford had identified John Lester as being one of the kids that kept beating him as he pleaded, "Please, oh God, don't kill me, I have a son old like you."
I don't know if the jury actually believed that his identification was good. I think they just convicted all of them on that assault, that they all must have participated, the acting in concert theory. But the fact is that he identified somebody who was 14 years old, blonde, blue-eyed, etc., and that clearly wasn't John Lester. And he had added Lester's name afterwards, and there had never been any identification, no lineup, no photo spread, nothing. So it was strictly an acting in concert type of conviction, and I think it was a compromise. And I think we got ruined with the judge's instruction on Saturday and again this afternoon.
All right, thank you, Brian Levinson. We're going to go back now to the news conference where Gabriel Leone, the representative of Scott Kern, is now talking to us, and there is Mr. Leone.
Heard his whole statement. If the judge would have allowed me to bring that whole statement out, the jury would then have heard the exact words of Scott Kern. I would have been fully allowed to cross-examine the police officer as to the full statement of Scott Kern, and I wasn't able to do that. And the only thing I was allowed to do under this joint trial situation was to put Mr. Kern on in a limited manner, and not in the manner in which, had I gone to trial by myself with my own client, been able to do. I wasn't able to do that. And I feel that that was a fundamental right that I had to do it, but because of judicial economy on the sides of the courts, we had a joint trial. But when it came to the Attorney General of this state appointing Mr. Hines, he wasn't given a budget. He was given a check signed with no amount in it, so that he could bring experts in from Detroit. He could bring forensic psychiatrists in. He could prevent witnesses from testifying. Originally in this case, I had demanded an immediate trial. There were 10 defendants. I said I would go to trial with all 10 defendants so that each young man could get on that witness stand and testify as to what happened. And I tell you right now, 4 of those people who gave statements to the police exculpated Scott Kern. But because they have pending indictments against them, their attorneys rightfully said, Mr. Leone, you subpoena my client, he's going to take the Fifth Amendment. Mr. Hines, in some halfway manner, attempted to call 4 of these defendants who I wanted to testify to the stand to testify, and they all took the Fifth Amendment. And then said, well, geez, you know, these guys won't come and testify. Why didn't he give them immunity? He gave Robert Riley immunity. Right, Robert Riley now, and I will be here the day Robert Riley is sentenced. And he probably won't be sentenced until after all of these trials are over with. Yeah, that's one of our frustrations. Because I want to make sure Robert Riley goes to jail.
You got to ask yourself this. Riley is the one that drove people to the pizzeria. Riley's the fellow that had the bat. Riley's the fellow that was in the car. If anybody was chasing Michael Griffith, it was Riley. He was the closest one to him when Griffith entered the Parkway. If he's going to get a youthful offender and face a maximum of 4 years in jail, I suggest and I ask you good people to join with us to make sure that these defendants, who even on the verdict of this jury, if you accept it, were so much less responsible that I think that the public should demand that these defendants be treated at least equal, or if not kinder, than Riley.
All right, and that is Ronald Rubenstein, the attorney for Jason Ledone, live.
Well, I asked for a hearing. I asked that the managing editor from the Daily News be subpoenaed in for the hearing, and I asked that Mr. Mark Friedman come in for the hearing. I think that the situation that has occurred is obviously this juror had already been sworn in, and at that time negotiating with an agent after being sworn in creates the impressions that maybe improprieties did occur here. No improprieties may have occurred, but however, to deny us the opportunity and to deny the public the opportunity to at least know that justice isn't being sold here in this case, and that people aren't rendering decisions based on what they feel will be best in the interest of selling books, movies, or newspaper articles about this. I think we have a right to know that, and I think that the public has a right to know that, so that they have confidence in our system.
So, but the judge denied the motion.
The judge said he was not going to grant us a motion based on some hearsay from some newspaper article.
The fact that this conviction came in does not indicate that the system worked to you, sir?
The system has never worked for the Black and Latino community. All right, it has worked for other people, but it never has worked for the Black and Latino community. We have not found justice in this criminal justice system. As far as we're concerned, this whole system needs to be revamped.
This one particular aspect of the Howard Beach case is over. There are other defendants still to go to trial. What is the overall message that came out of the Howard Beach verdicts tonight to you and to, if you can speculate, to the Black community?
Well, the only thing I can say about that is we will continue to organize. We will be present for the trial whenever it starts, all right? And we hope that we'll get a better verdict at that time than we did this time.
And your reaction finally to Mr. Perone being found not guilty on all the counts?
Well, we're hoping that maybe the Justice Department will take up the case and try him for civil rights violations.
Thank you very much, Mr. Walker. A small sampling of the reaction of the Black community. Again, many of the Black activists who have been here almost since day one on this trial were not able to come tonight because of their arrest. Kelly, anything you could add?
Well, what I'd like to add is right behind us here, I've just noticed that we have the Harlem State Senator David Patterson. What kind of implications does this kind of trial have with its outcome?
I think we have to look at the sentencing. These individuals could be youthful offenders and receive absolutely no time for a murder that was committed a year ago. This was an intentional murder. A mob screaming killed them, and then the death of Michael Griffith. I don't understand why an intentional murder in the second-degree verdict wasn't found.
All right, Senator Patterson. Sorry, Senator Patterson. We are going to break right now. We will be coming back. We'd like you to stay with us.
An NBC world premiere movie. 3 blacks entered the all-white community of Howard Beach.
Don't kill me.
Only 2 survived.
Certainly see no evidence to support a homicide charge.
Now in a city divided by hatred,
What kind of world is this?
only one man can unravel the mystery.
We got a murder case. I have no idea.
And bring the guilty to justice. Daniel J. Travanti.
We gotta find out the truth.
William Daniels.
Racism had nothing to do with it.
Based on the true story of New York's notorious killing, Howard Beach making the case for murder next.
Howard Beach continues, starring Daniel Travanti and William Daniels.